This feature, The Future of Work, is funded by the News Reporting Scheme.
Welcome to this week's episode of The Future of Work on Clare FM. The future of digital creative work in Clare is not a question of talent, it's one of structure. Deirdra McBeth works in regional development for the design industry in the west of Ireland. There are designers working across branding, product, service design, digital content at a really high level, many with national or international clients. Despite this, the sector doesn't always feel visible, connected or fully part of the regional economy. So for Deirdra, the future of work in this space isn't about bringing people in. It's about organising and connecting what already exists.
There's a huge amount of people that work in the digital creative industries in Ireland as a whole. All you have to look at is the output coming out of universities of people that are studying everything from design, industrial design, visual communication, service design, graphic design, like the broad spectrum of people who work in design, visual communication, audio-visual technology. The creative industries as a whole, the digital and commercial creative industries, is there no other word than huge. Data collection on this industry is hard to do because, and we have done it before with Institute of Designers, but it is a massive industry that supports a lot of other sectors in Ireland. Whether it's our health sector and how we design systems within the health sector, whether it's manufacturing, everything needs to be designed and communicated, whether it's how you design a hotel or a tourism industry and how you communicate that, all of that is backed up, supported and created by the digital creative industries. And that's also, I suppose, one of the issues around it. It's almost an invisible sector in a way because it backs up everything good that you see come out of any other sector is generally driven by a designer, a creative, a videographer, a marketeer. Those kind of digital creative industries back up and support them. But it's a huge network within Ireland, specifically in the west of Ireland. So we've seen since COVID, we've seen some various industries, people have moved to the west, but by the very nature of creative people, they tend to have moved to the west of Ireland. And digital creatives, because they can work remotely more so than people who might work in-house for a multinational company, they tend to have to be on site, maybe in Dublin or Galway or Limerick. Digital creatives tend to be freelancers, solopreneurs, working in small studios, small collectives. They're the ones that we are seeing living and working in Clare more so as well. So there's a high population definitely in the Clare area.
As you say, some of them operating under the radar. Is that intentionally or is that just the nature of their work?
No, it's a combination of things, and it's really the reason why my job exists. So I've been working for the last 3 years with the Institute of Designers on a regional development role for this very reason, that creatives and digital creatives and those that work within design or whether it's videography or other sectors, they don't want to be visible, but the nature of their trade, if they are working freelance, it is difficult to connect in, not only with other freelancers and other creatives, but with the businesses that need to hire them. And that is a structural issue, and it is one of the ones that we work towards with the Institute of Designers. And there's various ways we do that as community building, and we see community building not as, a soft add-on, or it's not just socializing. Community building is infrastructure development around these creatives, trying to form a sense of industry around them, trying to build visibility for these sectors, developing co-working spaces so they can work together and collaboratively. There's a new place in Galway, it's only open about a year or so, called CREW, which stands for Creative Enterprise West, and they are there to nurture and help build digital creative industry specifically. And there is a lot of supports there, but the infrastructure and the visibility isn't totally there. And a lot of the work that I do is community building. I have WhatsApp groups in Donegal and Clare and Mayo. I have regular meetups. I have events, but they only go so far. There is a lot of work to do in terms of forming an industry around the sector who do work sometimes invisibly and sometimes quite freelance. So that is an issue.
Any other challenges facing the industry?
Within, obviously, we have AI that is challenging every single industry. I do find that a lot of creatives and designers, though, are actually quite optimistic and nearly seeing it as an opportunity, because I think we genuinely know now that true creativity and the ability for an individual to have an insight into a business, to see a trend within a business, to look into the future and see possibilities for a business can only really be done by an individual. And what we're seeing within the creative industries is more an opportunity within that, because their skills will become even more valuable. We can see already with LinkedIn posts or social media posts, it's all starting to sound the same, it's all starting to look the same, and we're going to have to rely even more on individuals and creative people with an insight and with a point of view and with an ability that nobody else has to create something unique for your business. So it's a challenge in a way, because I do see a lot of business owners who may not understand the power of design and the power of investing in a creative partner. They think, oh my God, I can do this for free, and I'll just get an AI to mock up a logo for me. But within 6 months, a year, we're all going to start seeing the same, as they say, AI slop. We're going to start seeing generic and homogenized content coming out. And I think the swing will be back to briefing and hiring professionals who are fully trained and fully immersed in their industry and talented at design and talented at using the programs. So yeah, it's a tricky part for now, but I think it'll go pretty quickly where businesses will realize I actually need a professional on this.
You mentioned infrastructure earlier, but other supports, are there supports, and are there enough supports there for people working in this industry?
Well, the word supports as a whole, at the end of the day, these people are professionals working in a commercial sector. They don't always want to be supported. What these people want are clients. They don't want funding, they want clients. But what I have found over the last 3 years, what our county councils do offer, and the Leo is fantastic, and we have Creative Ireland who do a lot of funding. They do offer supports, AI for the creative industries or finances for your business. These are all there, and we're extremely grateful for those. But what I find the most, there's 2 things, or 3 things actually, that creatives in these industries want. One is a sense of community and a sense of industry. They want to work and be around and know other creatives from different disciplines so they can work together. Secondly, they want clients. They don't want handouts. They don't want funding. They don't want free money. They don't necessarily want training. These people are trained within an inch of their lives. These guys are racehorses living in the west of Ireland, so they don't need necessarily more supports or training or funding. They want clients, they want business. If we could do one thing, it would be driving business to them and making them visible. And then the third thing really is co-working spaces. Now we do have, it's great, we have the Connected Hubs network in Ireland. It's funded, it's cheaper than anywhere else. It's only say €10 a day. I suppose the issue is that they don't really fuel creative collaboration. They're not creative spaces where a videographer and an architect and a graphic designer or an illustrator can all work in that sense. It is a very specifically designed environment that you need to fuel collaboration and allow creative people to work in a specific space. So that is one thing that we probably do need to look at is, what do those spaces look like that might give visibility to creative industries, have businesses find them more easily, allow them to work together as a sense of industry rather than either at home or in a co-working space where they're still working isolated on their own. So they're the 3 things: a sense of community, business development, and co-working spaces really for dedicated to creatives.
One of the 3 things people working in this industry want are clients. That's where the money is. Do businesses generally appreciate the value of the work that's being done? As we said, kind of under the radar in the background.
Believe it or not, that's probably one of the number 1 things we've been doing the last few years is communicating the value and impact of design to businesses. We do a lot of meetups where it's designers meeting other designers. We'll do events where it's, okay, let's all get inspired by design. And usually after them, everybody's like, that was fantastic. I met so many other designers, but I actually just need to meet clients and businesses. People who don't understand design are the clients that these guys need. There's some businesses in Clare that understand design really well and the value of it. Like, look at John Burke out at the Armada. Like, he uses design to its fullest effect. And not just even, I don't mean just interiors or visual design. He uses systems design for how the hotel is laid out. He'll use design thinking for how the hotel operates. So he's an example of using design to its fullest effect and using digital creative industries, whether it's for video content or marketing. So there's definitely businesses in Clare that do understand it, but there could be a stronger understanding, and it's not through any fault of the businesses. It is actually, like I said, designers are trained like racehorses, and so it all often, flies above people, the value and impact that they can do. And that's our job within the Institute of Designers and within Studio Sale, the agency I work with now. A lot of what we do is educating the client, understanding that if you bring a creative in earlier in the process, that's always our main kind of ask, is bring us on earlier. We can reframe the problem that many businesses think they have. Once you get a designer and they're very good at cracking problems, thinking of new ways to look at a brief and a problem before you come to the solution. A designer can often say, that's actually not the problem, we could look at a new solution here. Their brains are trained in a very creative and problem-solving way, and that's the beauty of these creative industries. But we do appreciate we have to train and educate our client base into the value of it. And if there's anything, I suppose, that I can say is that it does add such value. We have statistics, they're BCG or McKinsey reporting that shows companies that use design, that have design in the C-suite, that use design inherently through their business, are inherently more profitable at the end of it. So that would be my message, is if you bring design in early and frequently, it can revolutionise your business. It's seen as an investment up front, but it will create very fast return. So we have actually just launched a Future of Design report. So this is with the Institute of Designers and various stakeholders around the country who work in the creative industries. And it's really interesting what's coming out, and it's very clear that, if design continues, I suppose, to be perceived as primarily tactical or aesthetic, then that can be a problem. And I would say for young people coming out of university or people starting in their career, or even if you're mid-career, is to reframe how you approach design or creativity, and that design should be seen as more strategy than just aesthetics. And designers are now shaping systems and shaping how businesses work rather than just being the solution at the end. A lot of time we find that people develop business plans, or they, develop marketing plans, and then at the very end they'll go to a designer or a creative industry just to get something executed. Whereas what we're finding with the training and the skill set and the creativity and the commercial creativity that these professionals have, if they're brought in at the start as partners in your strategy, how do you show up online? We're in an attention economy. How do you design what your business stands for? How do you design what it looks like? And then how do you design your communication plan? Imagine if that's the whole way through your business rather than the end. And that's not just for businesses to change their way of thinking, it's for the creative industries as well to change their way of approaching how they show up. So appear more as a business partner rather than a designer at the end. A big thing that we're seeing as well with design and creative industries is that they're shaping, I suppose, societal issues. It's not all commercial business. We're seeing design come through more in government systems, like in our healthcare system, in housing. Like, all of these are design problems. Like, our housing crisis is a design issue. If you can crack the reason why we have these inherent problems, they're usually done through changing the design of something, or, so it isn't always the visual. The other key things is that collaboration going forward will be key. As we said, jobs, quote unquote, will be challenged with AI. Traditional jobs will be challenged. And what we're seeing, as I said earlier, is people going freelance, setting up their own businesses. We see it all the time on, social media. People are their own boss now and creating their own independent business. But we're going to see more and more. You're going to have to collaborate. A videographer will have to collaborate with a graphic designer. Graphic designer will have to collaborate with an architect, because at the end of the day, businesses brief other businesses. They don't always brief freelancers, and like we said, it's difficult to find. And in this day and age, to stand up against AI, there's power in numbers. And so they're the key trends that we're seeing. Is we're going to have those in the creative industries collaborating more and forming these collaborations, because this freelance gig economy culture, will not stand up against AI. We have to form networks and collaborations. And then secondly is reframing how we see design and creative industries as more a business partner rather than simply just the visual execution. So they're the two kind of key trends we've seen come out of the Future of Design report.
That was Deirdra McBeth, Regional Development Officer with the Institute of Designers in Ireland. We'll be back next week with another episode of The Future of Work.
This feature, The Future of Work, is funded by the News Reporting Scheme.